welcome to a very special Mother's Day edition of the More Than Able podcast. I'm Margie, and today I'm going to be talking to three of who I think are the most bad word I probably shouldn't say on the podcast. Calli and her daughter Ada and her wonderful daughter-in-law Jasmine. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you, Margie, for having us.
Now, you guys know Jasmine as the producer of this awesome podcast, but like we've said, this is a family business, and Calli and Ada are kind of, I'd say, the driving forces behind this.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Jasmine, she's been there through all this. Yeah.
Yes. And her lovely husband, Kyle.
Yeah. And also my little daughter, Selena, who's not.
Yes. Yes. So I like to start off with a little icebreaker. So to me, moms are superheroes in my book. If you three could have any superpower, what would it be and why?
I think mine's a really obvious answer. I think you could even answer for me. I would teleport.
That's
Duh.
a good answer.
Right? Like across oceans, so I could just like zoop, go back home and see my family, zoop, come back here. I think that'd be my answer. What about you?
I think I would be shapeshifter.
Ooh.
I could just be whatever
Ada, how about you? What would your...
Mine is between both of your guys's. I think I would love to clone myself, and I think a lot of other moms out there would agree.
Absolutely.
I would love to be able to just have one version of myself who works all the time and one who's a mom all the time and one who could clean my house for me. That would be great. So definitely clone myself.
Spoken like a true mom. Great answers. So mine would be, I would have to say flying. So I wouldn't have to rely on transportation at all. I could just get from here to there to work to my house, anywhere.
That's a good one too, Margie. I like that.
Thank you. Thank you. So now on to the nitty gritty. So this question's for all three of you again. When did you know you wanted to be a mother?
Oh, God.
Jasmine, I'll start with you.
That's a good question.
I think probably when my little brother was born. I was 5. And I don't remember this too much, but my stepmom, Nikki, and my dad tell me that I was incredibly helpful with my little brother, which is really quite funny because I remembered, like, being kind of moody about it. You know, I was like, oh, this baby's getting all these gifts and no one's buying anything for me. Like, I was born too. But I remember holding him for the first time and being like, yep, this is it. this is the point for me.
So you went from being the stereotypical older sibling who was like jealous to then, as soon as your little brother was here.
Yes. The second I met him and I saw his little face and his like little,
Done.
He had a little black mohawk when he was born, which is really funny because he now has like golden blonde curls, like majestic Rapunzel hair. But when I saw his little face, I was like, oh, I get it. I get why people have these things.
Ada, how about you? When did you know you wanted to be a mom?
My goodness. Honestly, probably since I was a little kid, just like Jasmine. I obviously had a really good example of what motherhood looked like. And I was only an only child for like a year and a half before Kyle was born. And I remember a really similar experience to Jasmine where obviously this new baby's in the world and there's some fear there, but oh my gosh, I loved being around babies. I really enjoyed being an older sister despite all of its ups and downs. And so it was never a question in my mind that I really, really wanted to have children of my own one day.
Awesome. All right, rounding it off, Callie, how about you?
Well, and I will say about Ada as a child, she really did want to be. She would tell me all the time since she could talk. I'd say, "What do you want to be?" And she'd say, "Mommy." She would say that when she was a little tiny girl. It was really cute. And her toys were like dolls and, those little baby strollers and cribs and stuff like that.
The best.
So, and she would pretend like little animals were her babies and like little bugs and stuff.
Yeah, my
So
my
she's-
favorite DS game when I was a kid was a game called Imagine Babies,
Yeah.
where you're a babysitter, and my favorite ones were the ones where you feed them the food and you lose points if it's too hot.
Well, I could see that with both of you guys because you
Yeah.
guys are both very maternal. And I always wanted to be a mom as well. I was very nurturing. I just had a very nurturing soul since I was very little. Like to take care of people. I was always trying to take care of the underdog and just wanted to be a mom. I always knew I would be. So
Awesome. So, what are the best parts about being a mom, and what are the hard parts? Jasmine and Ada, I know you guys are still like new to the mom games, so you probably haven't had a lot of hardships yet.
I wouldn't say so. I'd say probably the hardest thing for me that like everybody tells you that this is going to be a thing when you're pregnant, but like it doesn't really set in until it's like actively happening. But just like it's getting better now that Hugo's getting older, but like it's like I'm never alone. I maybe get like half an hour out of the day where I'm not attached to a baby out of the day. And it's just like that, I used to be able to be like think in my head, oh, I'm thirsty. Let me go get a glass of water. Not anymore. It's like, oh, I'm thirsty. What's Kyle doing? Can Kyle take the baby? Is there someone around that can watch him if I put him down on his mat? It's like the like loss of independence, I guess. And like I know it's not forever. And I'm happy to do it because he's so darn cute. But everybody told me that had happened. And when you're pregnant, it's like, yeah, whatever. And then it hits you and it's like, oh my gosh, I haven't been alone in like 6 weeks. Wow.
Well, I can say or Ada, why don't you say your piece as you have a really young little baby boy too?
Well, for me, I think it's such a balance with motherhood because again, like the hardest part for me is really similar to Jasmine where you're never alone, but at the same time, I have a really wonderful like network around me. And I know Jasmine does too, of support of people who are really happy to take the boys and love the boys like we love them. But there is this relationship with a newborn baby where you are kind of the sole provider for a while, regardless of how wonderful your social network is. It really doesn't matter because you guys are kind of your lifeline mutually. And so, I get opportunities all the time where Callie or Jasmine will take Marshall and I get to go to a meeting by myself for a coffee. And it's really fun for a second, but then you've got this looming kind of feeling of, oh my gosh, my baby is out there without me. And it is this kind of panic. And it's really hard to manage that and know when to let go and know when to hold on. And it's just scary thinking that this thing that you love more than anything in the world just exists here, and I can't control everything around him. And that's a scary feeling, of course. And so that goes hand in hand with the best part is just the immense amount of love you have for this little thing. And
Yeah,
it's
you
crazy
do
because you
fall
don't
in love.
care if it likes you. Yeah. You don't even care if it likes you back. You just love it so much that whatever that person decides to be or do, you just love them. And it's so unconditional. It sounds so cheesy and corny, but oh my gosh, it really is.
That's not cheesy and or corny at all.
Yeah. I don't
So,
think so.
Callie, you kind of have a little or a much different experience now that your kids are grown and you have grandkids, but
yeah. And I will say that So all of my kids were raised outside of this country. So it's a very different experience because I was really, really blessed to have the opportunity to be with them kind of full time. And I was managing like creative projects that I could do on my own time. And there's a different culture around the first year of motherhood. And I don't want to make this a negative statement or anything about what's, like our culture here, but I think this culture here is really difficult for young moms to manage work and be able to survive and get the maternity leave that they need to like do that really important initial child commitment at the very beginning with breastfeeding and that sort of thing. So where in other countries it's just automatically assumed and the community kind of takes care of you to be able to do that. So, I'm not saying there's a better or worse, but my experience was very different where I had that one-on-one time with my kids for the full year where I didn't have meetings to go to and I didn't have, it was still overwhelming because they needed me all the time and the things like all the same things I
It's
had,
all true.
and all the love
Right.
and all the, oh my
Yeah.
gosh. And I remember that my husband gave me such good advice, even though he's not a mom. So I don't know why I would take his advice, but he said, but something stuck with me. He said, always remember that you're a woman first and then you're a mother. And then, and that helped me a lot because when you're a new mom, you can lose yourself very easily and just
So
becoming a mom,
easily.
Yeah.
and which is wonderful. And that's your pride and that's what you want to become. But so with my 3 kids, having raised them in different cultures and we were more nomadic than we were just in one place. I homeschooled them too, which is kind of different. So I got really into education and studying about education. I'm a plethora of knowledge if anyone needs. I'm really into education. But after all my mistakes and all my successes, I would say that some of the mistakes I made were trying to implement methods for a behavioral outcome, right? So Kyle's climbing on the fridge. I don't want Kyle to climb on the fridge. So every time he climbs on the fridge, he's gonna be put on timeout or something like that, right? Those never worked, and I didn't like that at all. And so I learned, okay, what is up on the fridge? Well, it's a big bottle of water. He's thirsty or whatever. I just learned to watch them instead of implementing my own thoughts about how somebody should be. And that I think was a really hard lesson that took me years to learn, but I learned it eventually. I still battle with it, don't I, with everybody, but I do try to allow everybody to be themselves. But I do think young moms these days, you guys have lots of wonderful information that I didn't have.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I didn't have internet when I was pregnant, so I couldn't be like, oh my gosh, my left side is aching. What does that mean? And what should I do? Or what should I eat? Or, I didn't have
You couldn't
any of
just
that.
Google
Nothing.
like 4-month-old Tylenol dosage.
Nope, nothing.
Like, that's
nothing.
crazy.
I just had to wing it.
Oh.
I could not.
I did buy that book, What to Expect When You're Expecting.
Oh yeah.
And I read it, but I started getting all the symptoms I would read about. So I had to stop
Take a
reading
seat,
it.
yeah.
So
Step back.
Before we move on, I want to say I realized I didn't say my favorite thing. I just complained.
That's okay.
My favorite thing is that Hugo is getting old enough to recognize me. So, like, me and Kyle, we were at a restaurant last night. And me and Kyle always fight about whose side of the booth the baby sits on. This has been a fight that me and Kyle have had since I was pregnant. Kyle was like, he's going to sit with me on my side of the booth. And I was like, no, I'm his mother. He's going to sit with me.
Oof.
But usually Kyle carries the car seat in, so he gets the first pick, And Hugo was kind of having a hard time last night. And I just said to Kyle, let's switch seats. And we switched seats. And then Hugo was fine. And he was smiling. And he was laughing. And he was happy. And he was, like, content. All just because I went and sat next to him.
It's
Like, that's pretty
Yeah.
cool
Mhm.
that I just
Yeah.
have that ability.
Outsider, that and like someone who sees this happen and sees how Hugo reacts to his mom, you guys, it like actually, and Margie, you've seen it. It hurts your heart. It's so sweet and like
Yeah.
selfless.
Can I just make one random point here?
Of
too?
course.
Absolutely.
Because we're talking about mothers and their children, right? And I never so I love my children so much. I would always secretly in my head said, I could never love anybody like I love my children, right? I just always had that in my head. And then Jasmine came along, and I love Jasmine the same way I love my children. So I never thought that was possible. Even when Jasmine came along, I wasn't sure if I would love her that way. And it's something that grew into that, and it happened just by itself, and it happened organically. But I find that really amazing how how I actually love her the same, no difference. There's no difference as my biological children. Isn't that weird how it doesn't have to be, biological? And I always wondered about that. I wondered, like some children are adopted, right? And some children come from different families and have different parents, and there's all kinds of different family structures. And I always thought, oh, I wonder if they could love their children like they love their, a biological child. Yes, you can. I know it because it happened to me.
Now, nobody can see because this is a podcast, but I'm getting a little misty-eyed.
Oh. Well, and you've got one of your bangs just like hanging in front of your eyes, too. That's so sweet.
Don't look at me.
All right, Jasmine, I'm going to put you on the spot for a minute.
Okay, let's do it.
How has living far away from your family impacted you as a mom?
Well, I certainly take a lot more photos than I probably would, I think. It's kind of a big question. I'm not really sure how to...
It's awful.
Yeah, first of all, it's awful. Like my Hugo is 5 months old. He'll be 6 months old next month. And we haven't been able to go back to England yet. So he hasn't met he's met his granddad, but nobody else. And that's really rough. It was really hard, like the first 3 weeks, not having my mum here. That was really hard because the way things went for me were not how I imagined things going, like with when I got pregnant and how my birth went. And I never imagined that I would be giving birth in Minnesota. That was like not ever part of the plan. I actually, if you go back in time and you talk to like 12-year-old me and you're like, hey, what's the thing that you would be most scared of? I would tell you giving birth in America or giving birth without my mom there. So I'd say it's made me a lot better at communicating. I'd say that's quite a positive thing because like when I need a mom, who do I call? Who do I bug? I bug you. And when I need my family and when I need my brothers and I need my aunties, I bug my sisters that are here. It's made me, I'd say, a lot more emotionally intelligent because instead of just being like moody, I can recognize, oh, I'm being moody because I miss my mom, or I'm being moody because I miss my grandma. Let me go call them. So it's like, it's not all bad.
But it's been rough.
But it's rough.
It's hard. I will say, as an observer, as a mom who, like, for example, with the little grandkids, right?
Yeah.
When they're crying, I want to give them to their mom because that's what they want. They want their moms, Right. And so, like, when I see Jasmine, I kind of want to give her to her mom, because I know what that's like. Yeah. And I was, but I think for us, it's been really difficult because we can't, there's no fix. There's no fix except for like, save up your money, get there,
Right.
But I think it's like we recognize, like, for example, her family will get together and they'll all be on FaceTime or whatever, and she'll get to see everyone, which she really enjoys. But for like 2 or 3 hours afterwards, she's real quiet. Yeah. And we all know, we all know she's dealing with it.
Or like it'll be someone's birthday.
Yeah.
And it's just like, just
you're not there physically.
Yeah.
Like her mom is a doll too. It's like the first time I met her mom, I was like, oh my God. Like, we could share closets.
You could.
We could be best friends. We could sit in the garden for hours and
I
talk
actually
so much
think you guys would be friends regardless of me and Kyle.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my
like
gosh.
if for some reason you guys crossed paths, you would be buddies.
Yeah. Did you want to say something, Ada?
No, I'm just agreeing because you guys, I don't know if you've ever like overheard Jasmine talking to her mom or heard Susan, but she is, oh my goodness. I hope she can come one day, and Margie, you can actually meet her because she is a gem.
Yeah.
She really is.
She is.
And her stepmom, Nikki, is also, we did have the pleasure of meeting stepmom Nikki, which was really special for us, and her dad, who was just lovely. And we have lots of pictures of her big,
I don't know
big tall guy.
if I told you, Margie, but like when I was actually in the hospital having Hugo, it was like getting close to the time that he was going to actually be delivered. And Kyle, I don't know how he did this. I didn't even know he was doing this, but he was texting updates. But like they were like one word updates. It was like almost coming, crowning.
Well, he was
Here.
probably freaking
Born.
out too.
And when the nurse was like, okay, you can start pushing, he like texted everybody. And within 5 minutes of sending that text, my dad was like, look, I know this is a really high pressure situation and I don't expect you to respond straight away, but can I book tickets? Because I think I really need to come and see you guys. My dad booked tickets like within the hour of Hugo being born and was here when he was he 10 days old? He came on the 10th?
Oh my gosh.
No, he came on the 10th to the 16th. So Hugo was like days old.
And
Oh
he
my
just
goodness.
sat with Jasmine and sat and, it
Yeah,
was really sweet.
we didn't do anything. He just came and he held my baby,
Yeah,
and
that was really, that helped a lot.
Yeah.
That
Oh
helped
my
a lot. That was
gosh.
like a little link to the across the pond,
Yeah.
as they say.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah, I know.
You asked the question, Margie.
I know.
Lots of information.
No, and this is great. Okay, so this is a question for all three of you again. How did your moms inspire you? And Ada, I know your mom's sitting right here, so
Better be good, Ada.
Yeah, should we have Ada go first?
sure.
Tell us,
This is
Ada.
This is a can of worms, you guys, because like obviously Callie and I work together, and we have an organization together, and we see each other every day. But aside from all of that, we have I feel we're all really close in the family, of course. But I think a big reason of why I wanted to be a mom was because of how I was raised, and because of the support I was given from my own mother. And it's really hard to say that you can balance friendship and being a parent, but I think Callie really did. And so it says a lot that I want to work with her, and you guys, I haven't only worked with Callie in this organization. I've actually worked with her multiple times before. So it's spanned for a long time. And I think I just admire her now as like a woman, especially now that I've had my own son and I've seen how difficult things can get. It's raised this level of admiration times 10. So she's just inspired me to be really, I think you're an intense person, and I really like that, and I like emulating it.
Good.
Ooh, intense.
Yeah,
She is, because
that's a
goes
nice way of
towards something 1,000%. Like if she's a mom, she's doing it 1,000%. When she's a grandmother, you guys, you should see how Marshall looks at her and how Hugo look at her. It's like that woman raised the moon or something. And so everything she does it with all of her effort and intention. And I think that's something that I need to learn how to do. Just because, and it's not, she doesn't have to fake it. She genuinely is feeling. And I think that's something that really inspires me and inspires a lot of people who work with her and who live with her and are friends with her.
Oh, absolutely. Jasmine, how about you?
Okay, so I'm gonna give two answers to this because I have my mom and my stepmom.
Yeah.
We'll go Susie D first. That's my mom. So my mom, I'm not sure if I've talked to you about this, Margie, but my mom actually has a disability.
You have?
Yes,
actually.
my mom has multiple sclerosis, and she has had it she was diagnosed when she was just a little bit older than me. And again, don't know if you know this, but she was a nurse for almost 20 years. She was a senior staff nurse, and she'll be very happy that I said that instead of just saying that she was a nurse.
Shout out to all the nurses for
Woo,
Nurses Week
woo.
too.
There you
Love
go.
you guys. So she worked for a long time with a disability, and She was a parent with a disability, and she would always tell me, like, okay, so we're gonna go see a movie on Friday night, but maybe she's not doing well, and she would always tell me, if we can, we will. And if I'd ask her for like some money to go to the shop with a friend to like buy some sweets or something, she'd be like, if I have it, you can have it. And when I'd ask her if she's okay, she'd always be like, well, are you okay? Because if you're okay, I'm okay.
Sweetheart.
And
wow.
that comes back to me all the time,
Oh.
because it's like, there are certain people in your life where it's like, if they aren't okay, you aren't okay.
Mhm.
If Hugo's not okay, I'm not okay.
Mm-mm.
But if he's okay, I'm okay.
Yeah.
So that, and just the way that, like, again, with all this stuff and with all the struggles my mom's had in her life and everything, and me and my mom were so close, like very, very, very close. For her to let me go was a big deal, you know.
Mhm.
She said, I think, was it something that she said to you over the phone when we were doing like the residency business? She was like, now that Kyle and Jasmine are together, I couldn't imagine them not being. So
Mhm.
it's
She said
kind
that
of
to
like a
me.
really big
Mhm.
deal for her to be okay with me being so far away. And recently, my mum's gotten involved with a bunch of like crafting groups. She does like macrame, and like she does everything. She does painting, she does like mosaic stuff with glass. Yeah, she does felting. And she just went on her first holiday in 15 years abroad with her boyfriend, which is a huge deal, again, because she hasn't been abroad in 15 years. So it's like the inspiration to do exactly what I want and don't compromise.
Mhm.
You know, like, if what I want to be is here, do it and don't compromise. If what I want to do is work, podcast, do it and don't compromise. That, I think, is the lesson that I draw from my mom a lot. And from my stepmom, it's kind of not a similar story, but like, it's still an appreciation for hard work, because the way that Nikki inspires me is Nikki came into my life when I was 3. I actually don't remember life without her. I don't have any memories before. So she actually, before me and my brother Luke came into our life, she didn't know how to cook. She could make like a cup of noodles and like a sandwich. And now, like, she does whole roast dinners, and she does like recipes and everything. And my little brother got diagnosed with celiacs like a couple of years ago. So not only did she learn how to cook for me and my older brother, but when my younger brother came along and then was diagnosed with celiacs, she relearned how to cook gluten-free.
Wow.
So again, like, the appreciation of hard work and perseverance, and, you know, like, being comfortable taking on a lot, if that makes sense. You know, like,
Brave.
like looking at all of this work and going, yes, I can do it. Sure, I can do it. Let's go. You know, not backing down. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, Callie, rounding it off.
Okay.
What or how did your mom inspire you?
Oh, my mom is, I think, well, what I got from my mom is her tenacity. So my mom's a single mom. She, you know, me starting my own business is really no big deal because I've watched my mom do it 1,000 times. I've watched my mom rise and fall and just get up off the ground, you know, brush herself off and get right back up and do it again. And she would always do it with grace. And she always looked quite beautiful when she was doing it. She's quite, you know, like blonde and
Well kept.
kind of like your mom.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
Just really, physically beautiful. And she liked to have a good time. So she just always, wanted to have a good time, live in beautiful areas. She always put me in kind of areas where I could work upward, so I grew up in, Palo Alto, California. I grew up in San Diego, California, places where I had a lot of opportunity to learn really amazing things from amazing people. And she's, am I allowed to say a little bit of a bad word? She's badass. She's a badass woman.
Hey, I almost said it. So
Well, so it slipped, but I have no other word to describe her. Single mom. When I was young, we lived up in the Santa Cruz Mountains, and the only job she could get was in San Francisco. So she would do a 3-hour commute.
Oh my gosh.
Every
my
morning and every
gosh.
night she would drive all the way down, and then she'd have, I don't know how she did what she did as a single mom. No help from, the dad. So it's just her. But her tenacity was just, it's just unbeatable. I mean, if she decides she wants something, watch out, because it's happening. So
no holding back.
no holding back.
So, what were your family traditions growing up, you three?
Oh my gosh. Ours is kind of silly. It's like not a very good tradition, but we still do it every year. Everybody gets new pajamas on Christmas Eve. Everybody has a Christmas Eve gift to open, and it's always pajamas for you to wear. And we would always watch Polar Express on Christmas Eve. And I have divorced parents, so it was very impressive that that was always coordinated. No matter where I was for Christmas Eve or Christmas morning, I always had new pajamas, and I always watched Polar Express, no matter whose house it was that year.
Awesome. Ada, how about you?
We have, honestly, and Jasmine, you're a part of this tradition, so you know, but this is the most chaotic and self-destructive tradition for Christmas I've ever. But it
Oh
gets
gosh.
weird. 'Cause if you know us as a collective, which Margie, you do, you know that we are not good at keeping secrets. Jasmine kind of is. She's a really good gift giver, so she's great at like keeping surprises. But the rest of us, terrible. Like I have never received a birthday gift on my birthday. My mom can never wait. She always gives it to me the minute after she buys it. Like for sure. And so for Christmas, obviously we all buy each other gifts and we all really enjoy that process. We're all excited. And because of that excitement, none of us can wait till Christmas Day to open gifts. So each year, I promise this isn't me exaggerating, somehow it becomes us opening the gifts a day earlier. Now, I think our family is on like 5 days early on opening gifts for Christmas. Jasmine, am I right?
Yeah, this year we should be opening on the 22nd because we did it on Christmas Eve. This year we did it on the 23rd, and then the coming Christmas it should be the 22nd if we follow our pattern.
I can't help it. I love
No,
giving
it's
the
so much
presents.
fun,
I
and
can't
I love
hold
it because we all sit around with like all the presents like wrapped up under the tree, and then it's like we all like look at each other and we all
Let's just do
smile,
it. Who
and then we're like,
cares?
"Come on, let's just do it now."
And
Well,
everyone
oh,
agrees.
yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
We're just like, yeah, hell yeah, let's go.
Well,
We're
yeah,
always
and
lying to ourselves. We're like, yeah, just one present, you guys. This year we'll really just do one little gift and then we'll open it Christmas Day. It always starts like that. And
Every time.
obviously like, it doesn't. It never ends well.
well, yeah. Now you, Jasmine and Kyle and Ada, you and Sean have 2 little boys now to think about
Oh gosh,
too. So
I know.
It's disaster, Margie. This is going to be a just war zone.
It's going to happen. Don't worry.
But
Margie.
I wonder if we'll ever get to the point where we open Christmas presents on Hugo's birthday on the 4th.
Well, I think with the boys,
In a couple
if
years.
we're gonna follow the whole Santa thing,
Oh,
then
yeah.
we would have to like put them down for Christmas
Oh,
Day so they could run
boo.
down. Yeah.
yeah,
But the other tradition is food, so we always eat together.
Yeah.
Like we actually do that every day.
And it makes me think of our birthday tradition as well, where you cook whatever it is
Everyone
that
has
the
their
person wants.
particular
Like
meals. Yeah.
you pick out your birthday meal. Selena
Yeah.
is always deviled eggs, which is really strange because
Yes.
there is
Ew.
no other day of the year where she will eat deviled. If I was to go over now with a tray of deviled eggs, she'd be like,
No thanks.
I'm good. But if it was her birthday,
She'll eat the
12.
whole tray.
yeah,
bring it on, bring it on.
all the deviled eggs, please.
And Kyle likes mole for his birthday. You, what do you like? I just always,
I
you
usually
say something different all
yeah,
the time.
it's been something different every time, but a chicken pot pie is always classic. In my opinion.
And Ada likes those rajas. She'll always ask for that.
The rajas? Oh my gosh. Sounds delicious. So, how has working together impacted your relationship?
It's
Mm.
different. Well, because it at first I would have been like the like kind of rose-colored glasses answer of like it hasn't, but it has.
But it
I think
has.
more it's just, when you have a job, you work the hours you're given and then you go home. And if you've got to work like a work-life balance, you stop. You stop thinking about work. You stop worrying about everything. But for us, it's also the fact that we work in human services and adore the people we work with. And because we all work together, we end up talking about work mostly around the clock, I would say.
Yeah, like
And
24/7.
yeah, yeah. And a lot of the times it's really good things, like, oh my gosh, did you hear Margie's podcast episode? That's fantastic. Let's make sure to give her time next week. And, it might be someone's going through a really hard time and they're getting some medical things done. And those conversations I'm fine with. It sometimes gets hard because we forget, oh my goodness, we also haven't just like hung out as a family for a while and not talked about it. So we kind of have to consciously make the effort of, okay, let's not reply to emails right now. Let's not talk about this for a second, unless it's urgent, right? And let's really just be together for a minute. And I think this past year we've gotten way better at it because, I mean, Margie, you came on board with us pretty early, but at one point it was just us, our family working. We didn't have any employees and we took all of this on by ourselves. And so now that we have a fantastic team of developers, we're in a really good place to be able to take that moment away. And Callie, I'm sure you can speak a little more on that.
I just think it's like if you read anybody who's been through a startup, there's growing pains, right? So, and we had what's called rapid growth. So when you have a rapid growth, it's just hard, because there's like little things and just like systems that aren't in place. And, but this year, actually, we've hired like 2 really good managers, like designated managers who are going to help us. And so the systems will be actually Jake Powell, our operations manager, is going to help us really get some like actual systems in place to make these things easier for everybody. So there's like everyone kind of knows like, okay, we do this and we send this and we, so I think it doesn't matter whether it's any startup, especially in a family, is hard. But this was just hard because it was just our family for so long. And it was just way more than
we were wearing all the hats.
We were wearing all the hats. That's right.
Because you
Juggling
were
all the
yeah,
balls and everything.
because you were doing the job that you were doing like executively and also doing 8-hour shifts, which was really hardcore. And then like it was hard to see, if we're talking about all working together, it was hard to see nobody switch off. And it like I missed you guys for a long time.
True.
We miss each other because it's like, we work all day and then we come home and we talk about work.
And it's like it's not because we just talk about it because
No,
we
it's
want
like
to.
problem
it's because we
solving.
had to problem solve,
Right.
and we had to get ready for the next day, and we had to. So it was, and then Ada and I are so similar, like that. We can certainly bounce off each other sometimes. Ada and I do, or like misread something, or but there's never anything that would ever be so bad that would impact us at all.
It's really nice because if you look at the true core of our working together and talking together, it's that we enjoy being together and we miss each other because we enjoy being together, so we work together. And then obviously, we miss each other because maybe the work overshadows other things. But I think right now we've gotten into a really nice groove so far.
It's
I agree.
much better now. Now is much better. Yeah.
Well, since we're talking about the business, if you ladies don't mind, so Callie, how did Learnability get started?
Well, actually, Margie, I was waiting for this question. This is my favorite question. I love them talking about moms and stuff, but today is May 8th. And
Right.
today is my friend Sharon Tripp's
Oh, gosh.
birthday today.
Happy
right?
birthday, Sharon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Sharon. So Sharon, rest in peace. She's passed away.
Oh, happy heavenly birthday.
Yes,
Mhm.
happy
Yes.
heavenly birthday. And she, so when I first moved here to Minnesota, her son Ryan, who is also part of Learnability, he, and actually, most of us know Ryan here, but Ryan was my first client that I worked with in Minnesota. And Ryan was, I had worked for a different organization, but I didn't know anything about anything. And they said, well, Ryan needs a job. He would like to have a job. And so I went out, and Ryan and I went out and got a job. And he's still at that job actually to this day, but now he wants to change jobs now. But so his mom was so enthralled with me that I did that so easily. She was like, how did you do that? And I was like, I just went and applied. What do you mean? And that I became really good friends with his mom. And we would talk all about services. And I learned all about horrible stories from her about like just a lack of kind of, elevated support or any kind of dignified support that Ryan was getting. And so she was like, and I said, well, I'm starting a nonprofit and I'm going to get my 245D. And I'm just going to do it myself because I don't see it being done by anyone else, And she was like, okay, I'll pay for it, And so she she donated the money for me to get Learnability started. I mean, Learnability now is moved away from a nonprofit, but it was thanks to Sharon that, and part of the reason why Sharon wanted to get this started, and this is a little bit of a sadder thing, but she did pass. She must have known she was going to die young because she said all the time, we need to develop a community that can care for our older children when we can no longer care for our children. And that's kind of
Right.
what the idea was with Learnability, because there's nothing. And every parent that I met has that, we're talking about mothers on Mother's Day, and we're talking about the love of mothers for their children. And so the love of the mothers is like, who's going to take care of my kids when I can't the way that I do? And I say nobody, because nobody can beat the way the moms are, but we can certainly spend time together and learn from each other and build a partnership to learn about how moms are taking care of their kids, right? What do they see for their future? What do they want for their future as a family, and support that? So that's where Learnability was born. We started as an employment. That's what we were going to do. Is we thought, got to get people jobs. But we would get people jobs and they would be unsuccessful because their support they were getting at home and their independent living wasn't conducive to employment. So, people, for example, a person might stay up all night and play video games and then have to work in the morning, and they would go to work tired and unbathed, and because nobody in a group home, for example, was providing that kind of support that somebody would need for employment. So we decided to put all the services into one and provide creativity, like for people who want to do podcasts or for people who want to do something a little bit outside of the box, So we just kind of became that place. And it's really thanks to Sharon. And today is her birthday, and then Mother's Day is right around the corner. So I always like to think about her a lot. And I will say, we've kept our promise to her as far as we're doing. Ryan's doing great. He's doing great. We're keeping our promise of that community for Ryan. So that's how Learnability started.
Oh,
Really.
wow. So, Ada, did you want to add something?
I just get a little teary-eyed thinking about Sharon, actually,
Me
because
too.
I know,
Mhm.
that was such an impactful moment, because I think, Callie is such a person. You need to be doing something, Mom, and you have a lot of initiative, and I think meeting Sharon was such a pivotal moment for all of us, including Sharon. And it's been a long time since my mom had a really, really close friend outside of our family. And so I will always thank Sharon, not only for the business, but also for being a friend of my mom, and my mom really deserves a really good friend like that. So I'll always
She
appreciate
was
Sharon
fun.
for that.
And Sharon was always giving me furniture. Don't ask why. She just it was like a thing. She had a huge house and she did.
We
So
called it Sharon
we called her Sharon.
because she would give us
Charity
chairs
and
all the
Sharon,
time.
okay.
But here's the irony of it. If you guys noticed my truck,
Yes.
did you notice what was in the back of my truck?
Oh my gosh, no.
There's a chair that Sharon gave me that I just picked up from Ada's house.
No
Oh
way.
So
my
I
gosh.
it's
Full
in the truck.
circle.
Full circle.
Yes.
Anyways.
Truly.
All right. So, Jasmine, talk a little bit about where you're from.
Okay. All right. So I am from the UK. I'm from England. I'm from Yorkshire, up the north. And I'm from a very small town called Swinton. It's so small that usually even when people at home ask me where I'm from, I'm like, I'm from a small town near Sheffield. I don't specify. It's a coal mining and pig farming village. We're so small we don't have like a proper grocery store or a post office. We have a post office, but it's like one of those ones that's like inside a different place, like at a counter. Yeah, I lived there 18 years and then moved out here.
And okay, that leads me to my next question. How did you and your husband Kyle meet?
Okay, this is a story and a half. So
Should I tell my side of it because I was an adult when
yeah,
you first met?
Yeah, go for it.
So we at one point lived in Europe and we lived in Spain, and tons of people from England visit Spain.
It's a
Right.
very common like holiday destination.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so they met there as young children. And actually, Jasmine was horrible to Kyle, and Kyle got in trouble for hitting
it
her.
depends who's telling the story. On
It's
this
me
part.
telling, and I know
Okay.
because he would come home teary-eyed.
Oh,
Mhm.
boy.
So, and obviously she was in love with him from that time, I'm guessing. But yeah, so we had some issues there. And then, they went back home and we continued on our way. And I never really thought about them again. And then
So this is really nerdy, but I'm just going to be honest, okay? There's these two YouTubers that were really popular in like 2015 called Dan and Phil.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a nerdy little 14-year-old that was really big into these two YouTubers. And I was part of a Facebook group for said YouTubers. And, it was just like teenagers on the internet talking about these two guys that they think are cute on YouTube, pretty much. But it kind of got to be more than that, where like people were making friends and making connections and all of this. And I had recently my friends at school had kind of like decided to not be friends with me anymore. I don't really know why to this day, but whatever. I was 14, it doesn't matter. And because I didn't really have a lot of friends at school, I started posting in this Facebook group, just like casually. And Kyle commented on one of my posts that I made. And he said something really weird. Like, I'm not going to lie.
surprise.
He said something
I was
really
just gonna
weird.
say that too.
And it made me laugh. And like we went back and forth in the comments for a little bit. And I decided, this kid's kind of cute. I'm going to send him a friend request, which he accepted. And then like not even 15 minutes later, you can't see because I'm this is a podcast, but I'm doing air quotes when I say this. He accidentally sent me a message. How do you accidentally send someone a message, Margie? I don't know.
Well, there's another term for it, but I don't think we want to use it on this podcast.
So he accidentally sent me a message, and it was a picture of the top of his head with snow in his hair.
Oh,
Of all
Oh my
things.
gosh, I remember
Yeah.
that picture.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And we just got like talking. I remember it was really quite funny. The first couple of conversations we had, I like texted in full sentences with like periods and capital letters and everything.
That's
and,
how I still text. What? Am I not supposed to do
No,
that?
that's just funny because that was me
She's
being
trying to
like,
be polite.
that was
Callie.
me like being like, this boy is cute. Let me be polite
Oh.
and nice, and maybe he will like me.
Oh.
And we just talked for a long time, and like it was kind of like a, oh my gosh, I feel like I know you already.
Yeah, can you imagine those two talked for like 4 years, all day, every day?
And
Can you
now
imagine
look
how
at you.
well they know each other?
Yeah.
They talked for 4 years.
And Ada and Sean were getting married, and they were planning a wedding, and Ada asked me to be a bridesmaid, and I was days away from booking tickets. And then the COVID happened,
Oh.
and lockdown hit, and the travel ban that lasted 18 months between the
goodness.
UK and US hit, and we were barred from seeing each other, and it was like there was nothing we could do.
Right.
The world shut down, and we just waited it out. We just
I mean,
waited.
and not to bring Sharon back into this, but Sharon was
Oh,
another one of the
absolutely.
supporters that made it happen that they could meet in Portugal. And like,
Absolutely.
you
Bring
guys-
Sharon into it. I have it framed downstairs. She was never really one for like huge shows of affection. She was always very like down low about it, you know? She just handed Kyle a card, and it has, I can see it, I'm holding the image in my mind right now. It has a bird sat on a branch, and it says, Kyle, one bird sitting alone, soon there will be two. Go now and be with Jasmine and be happy. Joy, Sharon, AA trip. That's what it says. It's framed downstairs.
And there was $1,000 in
Yeah,
that envelope.
There
too.
was $1,000 in that envelope.
Mhm.
And that meant that I could fly to Portugal, and Kyle could fly to Portugal, and we could be together. We spent a month in Portugal. And after the month was up, we were like, what do we do now? So he flew home with me, and we waited it out until the travel ban was lifted, and I flew here, and I've been here ever since. That was almost 3 years ago
So
now.
once they met, they never separated.
Nope, not once.
They've never separated.
I have
So.
spent 2 nights apart from Kyle since
The day they met.
the day we met, and
That's why when you understand Jasmine's mom, Susan,
Yeah.
when she says, now that Kyle and Jasmine are together, I can't see them apart, she's saying
Yeah,
that because it's
'cause
true.
we
It's,
can't.
it's, you
Definitely.
know.
I don't sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't sleep if Kyle's not there.
Well, and even like what
I do
I've
because he.
yeah.
Oh yeah, he did that last night. Actually, I had to wake him up.
Calling out Kyle on
Yeah.
the podcast.
Oh yeah, he yells in his sleep. I'll say it.
Yeah.
I don't mind.
Oh my goodness. Well, and Jasmine, I've even seen it too. Like, when I've needed a ride to the studio, it hasn't just been, oh, Kyle, can you or Jasmine come
Nope.
pick me up?
Both of us.
It's the both of you.
Mm-hmm. Every time.
So, Margie, can I switch this around and just ask you about your mom a little bit?
Oh,
Can I put you
Well,
on the spot?
okay,
Since we're having
sure,
a Mother's
sure,
Day
sure.
moment, I thought we would just talk about
Sure,
Anne a
Let's
little
talk
bit.
about Mama Ann.
okay. What do you want to know?
How does Anne inspire you?
Oh my gosh. Hopefully I'm starting to get a little misty now.
I know it's hard to talk about.
She inspires me. She inspires me to be my best self.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I could forget the littlest thing, like forgetting to lock the door when I come back in the house, even if I'm just going to get the mail from our mailbox. And she always says, I'm not going to be around forever. You're going to need to know these things and learn these things.
Mm-hmm.
And with this podcast too, she pretty much was the driving force behind me wanting to share my story and talk to other people who either have unique differences or neurodivergences, whatever the term is these days. And I mean, she was a single mom for a lot of years, and she had to bring me in and out of the hospital for various reasons when I was younger. And even recently with all my health issues, like she never gave up, and she never does. Like sometimes I say, "Oh, I bet you just want to give up on me, Mom, because like I'm I feel like I'm failing." And she's like, "No,
No.
no,
Not
Absolutely
even,
not.
no,
Not even a thought.
no."
Mm-mm.
So yeah. And then my stepmom, Susan, you guys haven't met her yet, but she is awesome.
Yeah, stepmoms are great.
They are, yeah. She and my dad are going to be celebrating 25 years of marriage
Oh
on the
my
29th of
goodness.
this
Wow.
month. And I know.
Congratulations.
And it was kind of similar to you, Jasmine. She came into my life when I was 4. And I don't remember too much about it. I remember her wedding. I remember their wedding. I was telling this to Emily on the way over. I was the flower girl.
Oh my gosh.
Cute.
And yeah, so she's awesome. All moms and stepmoms are awesome.
They really are.
I agree.
So, Ada, I was gonna ask you this question, but I think I'm gonna open it up to all 3 of you. What advice do you have for people who are differently abled in their 20s and 30s who want to live and work independently?
Oh, I love this question, Margie. I mean, I actually think you'd be an amazing person to answer this as well. But for me, as someone who works in this field, I think one of the biggest pieces of advice I have is to take a minute to yourself and ask yourself what you would like your life to look like, because it is so vastly different from person to person. And I mean, take that moment to really think about it and then realize there are resources out there. And it's hard because a lot of the times it feels like there isn't any, and they can kind of be sneaky and hidden sometimes, but there truly are. So once you kind of have this rough draft in your mind of what you want your life to look like, whether that be for employment, for living independently, or just your day-to-day life, write it down, think about it, and reach out for resources, because truly there are so many out there and they will look different for each person. And as a society, we still have a long ways to go to make our world truly accessible for everyone involved. But I will say, I feel like it's gotten better over the years, and we live in a state that currently has some really amazing services for adults and children with disabilities. So I think resources are your best friend, and being an advocate for yourself and really pulling your team together to advocate with you is important.
All right. Awesome. Jasmine, Callie, anything to
Yeah,
add?
to add to that, I would say just like don't compromise. Don't think that you have to compromise. You can get exactly what you want. Like we've worked with people that have gone from living in an apartment and barely going outside and feeling terrible all day and just like really not living, to taking trips across the country, to being involved in wonderful programs and finding jobs and learning to cook and being passionate about that and expressing themselves exactly how they want to without judgment. Like don't expect to be judged, because there are people out there that won't. You've got to find those people.
Yeah, and I think too, it depends on the disability, because there's some disabilities that some people who are nonverbal and might not be able to tell us or advocate for themselves. So we, to rely on their guardian or their chosen person who does represent, these things, but to be very clear that even a person who has a pretty severe intellectual cognitive disability, right, and nonverbal, like a level 3 autism or, something like this, there's so many creative ways to work, and it is possible. You can do it, and
Sky's the limit.
It really is. If somebody, it's just a matter of partnering with the right people who can see and know you, right? So if I would say, as a provider, right, I would say one of the things that makes me successful is I know everybody that I work with. I know them, I know them, I respect them. I see them as anyone else I see walking down the street. And I don't see it as like better or worse or different. I just see, okay, this is this person. Like, let's say they're nonverbal and have, you could say, okay, they're level 3 autism or whatever, like, I don't really see that. I just say, okay, here's this person, and this is what they like. This is what they don't like. This is the noises they like to be around. This is what they don't like to be around.
They like sunny days. They don't like the rain.
Yeah.
They don't like fire alarms.
They
whatever.
don't like honking cars. It's like there's so many different things. But if you really know someone that you're providing services for, you should be able to tap into some creative way to integrate them into the society that they want to be a part of, right? So it's their choice. And, so I guess my suggestion is find providers who will take the time to get to know you.
Yeah, agreed.
Awesome. Before we go, I'm probably going to get choked up again when I say this. I would like to say that I've been a client of Learnability for a while now and have worked with some fantastic DSPs or direct support people, as well as an amazing occupational therapist assistant. And this podcast wouldn't be where it's at right now if it weren't for Jasmine, her husband Kyle, and the support of my team here, as well as my family. So thank you guys so much.
But Margie, like what you offer us is so much more than what we could offer you, because you come into the room and you emanate authentic light and kindness, and we see that and we're like, oh my gosh, we want to help you motivate others, right? So, while you say thank you and we appreciate it, yes, you're welcome, of course, but it's our honor because we see you and we recognize the talent that you have to talk to people and the motivation that you offer other people. That's valuable to others. That will really, really help other people. So really, we should be thanking you for the opportunity to build a platform for you to help other people, truly. So,
and Margie, I always say this. You're probably tired of hearing me say this. When you thank me for being here and helping you make this podcast, I always say, there wouldn't be a podcast if there was no Margie. Like, it doesn't exist if you aren't here. There's no audio for me to edit. There's nothing for the microphones to pick up.
To me, I've told your mom this. She knows I've said these words. I said, Margie's meant for this. Mm-hmm. You're just meant for this.
Natural talent, truly.
Natural. Mm-hmm. So thank you, Margie.
Yes, thank you, Margie.
Well,
what do you have to say about that now?
On that note, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you again, Calli, Ada, and Jasmine, for being on the show today. Tune in next time, and just remember, you're more than able. And hey, everyone, follow More Than Able on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, X, and TikTok, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Links can be found on our link tree, which you can find in our bios. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.